I'm 73 years old. I'm saying that out loud because there was a time when I didn't think I'd ever say it. Not because I thought I'd die young, but because I never really imagined being this old. I always thought of old age as something abstract, something far away, something that happened to other people. I'm sitting alone as I record this. The house is quiet in a way it never used to be, and there's something I've been carrying for a long time that I feel like I need to say now, while I still can. Not to be remembered, not to feel important, just because it feels wrong to keep it to myself anymore. I learned something about time too late. And by the time I understood it, there was no way to go back and use it. Most days now, time feels different. Slower in the morning, faster at night. The days don't blur the way they used to, but the years do. I'll sit in a chair and suddenly realize it's been 10 years since something happened, even though it feels like yesterday. Or the opposite, something that feels ancient turns out to have happened not that long ago. I think that's one of the quiet shocks of getting old. You don't just lose time going forward, you lose your sense of it looking backward too. I'm not telling this story because I think my life was especially tragic. It was. From the outside it probably looked fine, stable, respectable, predictable, and for a long time that felt like enough. When I was younger, I believed time was something you managed. Like money, like a calendar, like a tool. If you were organized, disciplined, and patient, time would take care of itself. There would always be more of it later. That belief shaped almost every decision I made. In my 20s, I was busy becoming someone. I had a job that wasn't glamorous but felt necessary. I woke up early, came home tired, and told myself it was temporary. Everyone around me was doing the same thing. We talked about the future like it was guaranteed. Promotions, vacations we'd take someday, houses we'd live in later. I didn't feel reckless, I felt responsible. When friends invited me out, I often said no, not angrily, not dramatically, just maybe next time. I didn't think I was losing anything, I thought I was postponing it. There's a difference, but I didn't know that then. In my 30s, life filled up, marriage, children, a mortgage, the routines got heavier, the days got tighter. I told myself this was what adulthood looked like, that showing up meant being tired, that love could wait until the weekend, that conversations could be continued later. I was always busy, but not always present. I remember coming home late one night when my kids were small. They'd fallen asleep on the couch waiting for me, toys still on the floor, the television humming quietly. I stood there for a moment and felt something like guilt, but I pushed it away. I told myself there would be many more nights, many more chances. I didn't realize how fast many turns into not enough. In my 40s, the years started moving quicker. I noticed it, but I didn't stop. I told myself that noticing was enough. I thought awareness was the same as action. It is. My parents were agging then. They didn't say much about it. They never complained. I'd call when I could, visit when it fit into the schedule. I assumed time was still on my side, that the important conversations could wait for a better moment, a calmer season. There's always a calmer season coming, you tell yourself, until there is. The cost of all this didn't arrive all at once. That's the part I wish someone had warned me about. It came quietly, in small ways that were easy to ignore. A birthday missed. A dinner postponed. A phone call that felt too heavy to make after a long day. None of these moments felt important on their own. That's why they're dangerous. You don't feel regret while you're making them. You feel reasonable, practical, sensible. The damage only becomes visible later, when you add them all up. There wasn't a single moment where I thought, I am ruining my life. There was just a long series of moments where I thought, not today. The turning point for me wasn't dramatic. No sudden accident, no grand collapse. It was my father's death. He died quickly, too quickly for me to adjust. One day we were talking about nothing in particular, and the next day he was gone. I stood in a quiet room afterward and realized how many things we had never said, not because we were estranged, not because we were angry, but because we assumed there would be more time. I remember thinking, very clearly, I thought I'd call him next week. That thought still visits me. After that, I became more aware, but awareness didn't fix everything. Habits are stubborn. Lives are already shaped by the time you notice them. You don't turn around easily once you've been walking in one direction for decades. Then came my own health problems in my early 50s. Nothing heroic about it, just my body asking questions I hadn't prepared answers for. Sitting in a quiet room, listening to machines, I felt something settle in me that I hadn't felt before. Finality. Not immediate, but undeniable. I realized that time wasn't a savings account I could draw from later. It was more like breath, something you only have while you're using it, something that doesn't store itself for future use. By then, some things were already gone. My children were grown, we had relationships, yes, but there were gaps, shared jokes I didn't understand, stories I wasn't part of. I hadn't been absent completely, but I hadn't been fully there either, and you can't explain that away after the fact. Some friendships had faded into polite distance, not from conflict, just from neglect, the slow erosion of "we should get together sometime." That phrase should come with a warning. There were dreams I had quietly set aside, not because they were impossible, but because they were inconvenient. Writing, traveling without a plan, long conversations that didn't lead anywhere useful. I told myself I was being mature. I was actually being afraid of wasting time. Now I understand the irony. There are things I can't fix. I say that plainly. Not everything can be repaired by insight or regret. Some doors don't reopen. Some people don't come back. Some versions of yourself only exist once. That's one of the hardest truths of agging. You don't just lose future opportunities. You lose past ones too. They don't stay available for reconsideration. I don't spend my days drowning in sorrow. That's not what this is about. There is gratitude here too. I've had love. I've had moments of real joy. I'm not empty. But I am honest now in a way I wasn't before. Time is not neutral. It's not patient. It doesn't wait for clarity. It keeps moving whether you're paying attention or not. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I'm not trying to warn you dramatically. I don't want to tell you what to do. I only want to tell you what I wish I had understood earlier. That later is not a place you eventually arrive. It's a story you tell yourself to feel comfortable today. That being busy can look a lot like being important, but they're not the same thing. That relationships don't usually break, they thin, quietly, from lack of use. That presence is not something you make time for after everything else. It is the thing everything else costs. I thought I was trading time for security, for stability, for a future. What I didn't realize was that I was trading time for things that didn't need as much of it as I gave them. No one told me that you don't feel the value of time while you have plenty of it. You feel it when it becomes scarce. Now my days are simpler, slower, sometimes lonelier than I expected. People don't ask much of you at this age. You notice how little you're needed once you stop producing. There's freedom in that, but also a strange quiet. I don't know how many years I have left. I don't guess anymore. I don't make long plans. I try to be awake to the days I do have. Some days I succeed, some days I don't. I still catch myself thinking, I'll do that later. Then I stop because I know better now. If this meant something to you, I hope you don't rush away from the feeling. You don't need to change your whole life. You don't need to make promises. Just notice how you're spending your time. Who gets it? Who doesn't? And why? I learned this too late to use it fully. But maybe not too late to say it out loud. That's all I wanted to do.